Good evening, Jay.
Good evening, Raj. How's it going?
All's good. How are things at your end?
Good, good. Calcutta has great weather as usual.
Right. Anyway, without wasting much time, let's get to it. Let's introduce
Yes.
our topic for today and let's have a conversation that will hopefully add value to all of our lives and give us some knowledge, which is hopefully unbiased and objective. So, the Citizenship Amendment Act rules have been just introduced by the government of India a couple of days back. The act, as we remember, was passed in December of 2019. Subsequently, it got presidential assent and it became a contentious issue. Then the pandemic hit, and a lot of the discourse went sort of in the background. But we still recall the larger implications and the larger conversations around the issue. So, off the bat, I'll speak very briefly about the rules that have just come in, and we will then start discussing the overall implications. So, the new rules basically allow the people who have migrated to India from Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan to gain accelerated citizenship by producing a set of documents or identity proofs in front of district level committees of sorts set up by the government of India. And these committees are representatives from the census department, the intelligence bureau, the state government, and they kind of probe two types of documents. The first document, which shows identity of the individual seeking citizenship into India in their country of origin, which could be Pakistan, Bangladesh, or Afghanistan. And the second set of documents which are required to prove your date of entry into India. So the first set of documents can be things like your old land records, your identity cards issued by the government of the country that you are trying to leave behind. And in India, your identity cards could include Aadhaar cards or any other type of valid identification. The details are naturally in the rules that have just been introduced. If you are interested, you can find them on the website of the respective government departments and the Home Ministry, etc. So let's speak about the larger implications of the issue, the historical context of CAA, why the government of India felt like it was an important bill to enact, to implement. So, Jay, let's get your thoughts in.
The Citizenship Amendment Act, the Citizenship Act was passed in 1955, 8 years after the partition of India. And it was passed in order to guarantee citizenship to all the refugees who had come inside India from erstwhile western parts of the country and eastern parts of the country. Now, the Citizenship Act has been amended four times. Once in 1986, then again in 2003, 2015, and finally 2019, what we popularly known as CAA 2019, which witnessed a lot of protests and agitations. So the Citizenship Act aimed to give citizenship to the new immigrants on the basis of five criterion: birth, registration, descent, naturalization, and incorporation of territory. Now, I think our scope of discussion today is focused on Assam and northeast of India and the wider implications of the Citizenship Amendment Act with respect to that. Now, coming to the Amendment Act, which was passed in 1986, that was Assam centric. The reason why it was Assam centric was because for the first time, a sixth criteria was added in the foray, that being whether to guarantee citizenship to these new immigrants on the basis of pan India application, or whether the application of guaranteeing them citizenship in places like Assam, like Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram, Manipur would have a different application, given that these areas have a unique and a distinctively isolated ethnic identity. So, in order to protect that, the application of the Citizenship Amendment Act would be different, and that was the focus of 1986 Amendment Act, which added another section called Section 6A, which said that all the immigrants who had come to Assam from the 1st of January 1966 till 25th March of 1971 would be guaranteed automatic citizenship. Whereas anyone coming to Assam after that, now mind you, after 25th March 1975, the Bangladesh Liberation War happened. So what this act did in 1986, it basically said that anyone who came to Assam after that would not get automatic citizenship. You are Raj, I can't hear you, Raj.
Right, right.
Yeah,
My apologies. I
yeah.
was muted.
Mhm.
So I feel like Assam, the state of Assam is very significant to the debate around the Citizenship Amendment Act. In fact, I would go as far as saying that you cannot have the conversations regarding the Citizenship Amendment Act without having conversations around Assam and West Bengal first.
Yes,
So the concerns in Assam and West Bengal have been the first expression of anxiety around the granting of citizenship to settlers or foreigners from these countries, particularly Bangladesh, because it borders both these mentioned states. And for that, I think we need to speak a little bit about the history of Assam. As early as 1931, even British officers in Assam had expressed concerns about a threat to Assamese culture because of outsider influence in that area. These anxieties continued around the time of the Citizenship Act of 1955. And in the 80s, the government of India tried to address it by the signing of the Assam Accord. We know that in 1971, there was an exodus of mainly Hindus or even many liberal Muslims from Bangladesh. Many of them may have moved to India, and Assam dealt with the spillover of that. Post the Bangladesh Liberation War in the 1980s, the government of India made an effort to address this anxiety with the Assam Accord, where, with the consent of the government of Bangladesh, the idea was to identify, detect, and respectfully deport the individuals who had settled in Assam in those areas. Unfortunately, for the people of Assam who expressed these anxieties, the Assam Accord was never actually implemented, probably because of the policy complexity related to the issue. And then I think a sort of status quo was maintained
yes.
for the longest time.
So
And
in
go on.
sorry, I hope you had finished.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so in 1983, there was uh, there was a there was a passage of an order in Assam which guaranteed that the Bengali-speaking Muslims, would also be included in the voters list. And what that led to was eventual rioting and violence, which led to around 4,000 people being killed. After this, another amendment and another act was put forward in the parliament. It was called the Illegal Migrants Determination by Tribunal Act. And in that, the act basically went against the Foreigners Act 1946, where the onus or the proof of burden of proving whether an individual is a foreigner or not was on the individual. The IMDT Act, what it did was it put the the burden of proof, my apologies, on the individual or the authority which was accusing another individual of being a foreigner. So this backfired, and eventually this IMDT Act was scrapped by the Supreme Court in 2005, where the Supreme Court, I'm quoting the Supreme Court, said that illegal migration inside India is a form of aggression.
Right. So, in simple terms, if an illegal immigrant was to say enter into Tamil Nadu, for example,
Yeah,
he and the state of Tamil Nadu prosecuted him, the burden of proof would lie on the individual based on Foreigners Act. However, in
Foreigners Act. Yeah,
Assam,
yeah.
However, in Assam, if the state tried to prosecute an illegal immigrant or a settler, the burden of proof would be on the state to prove that this person
Yes,
doesn't is not indigenous to the state or the
yes,
country.
yes,
So that was the complication. I can assume that the
yes,
burden on the state resources was very heavy. I believe
yes.
it was challenged in the judiciary also. It was agitated in the courts. And in
Yes, so
2005, I believe it
five.
was repeated.
Yes, 2005 it was scrapped. The Supreme Court said
Right.
that any type of illegal immigration inside India is a form of aggression.
Right. Interesting
Yes.
aside and a trivia is
Hmm.
that the person agitating these issues in the court at the time was the Sharbananda Sonowal. I hope I pronounced his name correctly, who became the Assam chief minister later on and presently is serving in the union government as a cabinet minister.
Yes. Yes. So the issue of migration from Bangladesh, it cannot just be viewed with respect to Bengalis. There were other ethnic groups also who came inside India during the partition and after the partition. So these ethnic groups primarily being the Chakmas and the Hajongs. Chakmas being the Buddhists and Hajongs being the Hindus, all belonging to the Chatgaon Hill Territory or CHT as it's popularly known in Bangladesh. Now, in 1960s, there was a dam that was built in Bangladesh, which was called the Karnaphuli Dam. Now, because of the building of this dam, the areas which are inhabited by these people, the Chakmas and the Hajongs, got submerged underwater, and they started coming to Assam and the erstwhile northeastern frontier agencies and started settling in these areas. These people did not get citizenship, and their citizenship in India got even more complicated when Arunachal Pradesh was carved out in 1987. Now, once Arunachal Pradesh was carved out in 1987, the debate about whether Chakmas deserve citizenship in Arunachal Pradesh again started erupting, and the student unions of Arunachal Pradesh totally went against the grant of citizenship to the Chakmas. Eventually, the Chakmas took this matter to the Supreme Court under the matter of Arunachal Pradesh versus Khudiram Chakma, and in that they wanted to get citizenship under the 1986 Citizenship Amendment Act, Section 6A, where they said that they were here in Assam and they were here in Assam from the 1st Jan of 1966, so they deserved citizenship under Arunachal Pradesh as well. The Supreme Court disagreed with this claim. They said that even though the Chakmas had come to Assam, but they had swayed into different territories. That's why under Section 6A they cannot get citizenship because Section 6A specifically focuses on Assam and not Arunachal Pradesh. So, in order to get citizenship under the Citizenship Act, they basically took the recourse of Section 51A of the Citizenship Act 1955, which talks about registration. Under this, they were given some relief where the Supreme Court said that under registration, the matter can actually go to the central government, and after that, the central government can take a call. And if they decide if they can get citizenship, they can seek citizenship.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is a very straining and very complicated procedure that you have
Yes.
said. There are many other anxieties of the people of Assam, I suppose, which can cause some understandable concerns with respect to the Citizenship Amendment Act. I think we can begin talking about even the inner line permits, and
Yes.
for the indigenous population of many states, it may be a good thing that it's a very clear part of the CAA that it will not be implemented in areas which have inner line permits. So all of the state of Arunachal Pradesh is exempt from implementation of CAA. All of the state of Nagaland, with the exception of Dimapur, is exempt from the CAA. And Mizoram is also exempt from the CAA based on this inner line permit regime. I believe around the time of the passage of the 2019 CAA, the state of Manipur also received the inline permit. In fact, Jay and I, we happened to be in Manipur in December 2019, and there were many big posters thanking the Prime Minister and the Government of
We
India for
yeah.
the granting
For
of
the
the
inner line
inline
permit,
permit.
we discussed the application of inner line permit in our Manipur episode as well.
Yes, yes. You can go
Yes.
check that out for
Check that out.
more context into Manipur.
Yeah.
So now coming back to the inner line permit, so we know Arunachal, Nagaland, Mizoram, and Manipur will not have the burden of implementing CAA. And in addition to inner line permit areas, the areas which are protected under the sixth schedule will also not be implementing the CAA. So now this includes about a major portion of the state of Tripura. So very small portions of Tripura may face the brunt the burden of implementing CAA, but largely the population is not concerned. I- all of Meghalaya except for the Shillong area, which is already a densely populated capital city. So all of Meghalaya is protected under the sixth schedule. Parts of Assam like Dima Hasao areas and the other areas Jay, can you fill me up? And other areas of Assam which are
Dimazor,
protected.
Karbi Anglon, Kachar
Karbi
Hills.
Anglong area and the Kachar Hills, right?
Yeah.
And those areas in Assam are protected by the sixth schedule. So what is left? Left are the plains and the hinterland of Assam. So all of the northeast is exempt. Proximity to Bangladesh leads to a large part of the northeast facing illegal immigration. And now, when the settlement is being implemented, it will be implemented largely in the part of Assamese hinterland. This is at the heart of the anxiety of the students union and other civil organizations in Assam that have been protesting the Citizenship Amendment Act from day one. It is in some ways a complicated issue, and you have to balance out your thinking whether you want to support the rights of an indigenous group of people to protect their identity, which is an understandable concern, or you want to assert the importance of the government of India to protect people who are facing religious persecution in their own home countries. That is also an understandable view. So the debate is complex. And speaking of complexity, Jay, let's get your thoughts.
It is extremely complicated, and I think the government of India is well aware of the nuances that are involved, and I think they have taken reasonable care in order to ensure that the rights and the dignity of these groups is maintained, while at the same time the rights of the refugees are also kept in mind, given the fact that except for India, there is no other place where they can find refuge.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think sometime in March 2020, at the very first few days when the world was talking about COVID, there was a massive bomb attack at a gurudwara in Kabul.
Yes.
There are always reports of forcible conversions of girls of minority religions, particularly in the Pakistani province of Sindh.
Yes.
And even Bangladesh has its own group of clergymen, for the lack of a better word.
Fundamentalists. Fundamentalists. Yes.
Yes, yes. So radicalism can also be noted in areas of Bangladesh. So
Yeah.
fearing religious persecution to flee your home country is also reason enough, in my view.
Yes.
And I
To
believe the
be.
government of India, the Ministry of Home Affairs, concurs
Yes.
that the
So
idea that you might face religious persecution is enough to seek citizenship in India.
there is an American author called Gary J. Bass. He wrote a book called The Blood Telegram, which basically documented the observations of the consulate member Archer Blood, who was posted in Dhaka in 1971. According to the observations of Mr. Blood, there was significant evidence to prove that the violence that happened in erstwhile East Pakistan was primarily directed against the Hindu population of East Pakistan. And gradually, it also manifested itself in targeting other Muslims as well, who were in support of establishing a Bengali speaking nation run on secular principles. Given that the precedent left a lot of Hindus in a state of limbo where even after being guaranteed secular rights in the newly created Bangladesh, there was still sense of uneasiness given the fact they faced so much of violence which led to innumerable deaths. In the
Yeah.
book, there is also the mention of Hindu houses being marked with an orange H so that the Pakistani army has an easy time to single out the Hindu houses, and also the fact that the Pakistani army used to check in the male genitalia in order to find whether the people are circumcised or not in order to conduct their massacres. So, given this background, it is all but fair to understand the central government's perspective as to why it wants to fast track citizenship for people suffering so much.
Yeah. I had a chance to speak with somebody from the border security force at the Meghalaya Bangladesh border a while back, and he was recalling a conversation with one of his seniors, super seniors, many batches above him, who told him stories of how when the Pakistan army used to come, it used to line up all the East Pakistan Rangers who
Yeah,
used to do the peacetime border guarding with India, and the Pakistan army would largely identify all the Hindus from East Pakistan Rangers, shoot them, leave their bodies in a pile, etc. So the degree of human rights violations conducted by the Urdu supremacist West Pakistan
yes, it has to be
lobby,
talked about.
yeah, lobby
It
for
has
the
to be talked
lack of a
about.
better word,
Also, the fact that
with
the
the full
Western world
support,
wasn't
yeah,
of Americans. Yeah, the full
we'll
full
get to
support of
that.
Americans.
We'll get
Yeah,
to that. But these
yeah,
operations with the full force of the Pakistani army
yeah,
directed at in their views racially inferior and somewhat Hindu-like Bangladeshis are some human rights violations that could put the Nazis to the shame.
shame. Exactly.
We don't talk about Operation Searchlight enough. We don't
Yeah,
talk about how many of the Western countries which are now experts at
human rights.
signaling human rights violations around the world were not only were they oblivious to it, they were supportive of that
Yes,
regime in our Western neighbor. Anyway,
yes.
that
That's
is
a different
another
episode.
conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah. Let's
yeah.
get your thoughts, Jay.
Yeah, I think we can conclude the conversation now. With respect to CAA and its wider impacts in Assam and the northeastern territories, I think we have covered most of the points. And if we have missed out on something, and if we've made some interpretational errors with respect to certain technical details and clauses from legislations, please feel free to correct us in the comments. And other corrections that we notice in the overall video, we will put in the corrections in the description itself. Thank
Yeah,
you so much.
guys, these are open-ended conversations. These are long
Yeah,
conversations, and these are technical, complex policy discussions. So, if you happen to disagree with anything that we've said, we would be more than happy to receive feedback on the comment section. If you think that we can do things to make our conversations better, technically, content-wise, please let us know. And if you think
subscribe.
that yes, most importantly, if any of our conversations add value to your
Yeah,
day, to your knowledge base, then please subscribe, share, like,
yeah.
and
Like
thank you so
press the
much
bell
for tuning
icon.
in.
Press the bell icon. Yeah.
Press the bell
Thank you so
icon.
much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you very
so
much.
much. Bye.
Bye bye.